welcome to But I Digress, the show celebrating its second anniversary! Can you believe it? 2 years! 2 years I've been doing this show. Wow. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. Anyway, I know I'm technically a couple of weeks late for my second anniversary, but I wanted to make sure I got a celebratory video out to all of you before the month was out because I felt I owed that to you. And it was something I wanted to do last year, but didn't get around to it. Now, as has become an unintentional tradition with me, around this time of the year, this video will be on selling books at conventions. However, you won't be hearing from me. You'll be hearing from some of my fellow authors from Gen Con 2014, including an old veteran and friend of mine, a newcomer who was selling books at a convention for the very first time, and another veteran who was selling books at Gen Con 2014 for the first time after having sold books at other conventions for several years. So, without further ado, enjoy these interviews. Thank you for agreeing to do this interview. What are your names?
Doug and Sherry Rudder.
All right, what titles have you written?
Well, we have worked on, I've got a book on J.R.R. Tolkien, Monster, Ethan, and Middle-earth. We also have the Rudder Haven Science Fiction Fantasy Anthologies, 1 and 2. We have Hacker Chronicles by Jonathan Rudder, my brother, who was actually the first author at Gen Con who we did the Authors Avenue here the first year.
Oh, what was your first year?
That would be 2002, I think.
Okay. Was it just you and one other guy then?
Yes, it was just me and my brother.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I just have a few questions I wanted to ask you here. Let's see. First, what advice would you give to new authors wanting to sell at conventions? And my next question, why do you keep coming to Gen Con or other conventions that you go to?
We've enjoyed it. We enjoy Gen Con immensely. We do fairly well here. Again, we've been doing it since 2002, and it's a good time. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of authors to look at, a lot of art to look at.
You get touched a lot of you.
All right. What's the best and worst parts of selling at a convention?
The best is getting to meet a lot of people. The worst is days you don't have a lot of people.
And I'm very happy this year. My wife bought us a nice padded mat to stand on as your feet get sore. But it's a lot of fun interacting with people. Again, get to meet new people.
Okay. How do you prepare to come to a convention?
I make stats, piles, and lists, and get everything ready before we go. You make sure the books are ready. I make sure everything else is ready.
Okay. What's your favorite memory from selling at a convention?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have to say probably the very first sale. Because the people who didn't know you, never heard of you, and often those are the people who come back. You see them again.
Do you remember which one of these titles was the first one you sold?
Sharamatara was the first one.
All right.
First year we had the first two books, Sharamatara and The Road to Elegance.
For me, last year was the best year because I've sold their books for years. Last year I got to say, I'm in this one. I have a story, 2 stories in this one. So that was made last year special for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Hello, sir. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Ed Russell. I'm the author of Dead Infested. Second book, Flaws and Flaws, a comedy. And Massive Monster Mayhem, 6 giant monsters, 6 stories.
All right. So,
What advice would you give to new authors who want to sell at conventions?
Bring a buddy. It's best if you have someone to sit at the table with you so you can take breaks. And really, you should prepare something, a little speech on each book beforehand. Because if you can tell someone what it's about, they're more inclined to buy it.
Definitely. Why do you keep coming to Gen Con and the other conventions that you go to?
The exposure. I mean, Gen Con alone, you get so many people that show up here, and it's such a wide range of taste that it's the best place. And the others, you got to kind of figure your market out. So I write a lot of horror, monster-themed things, so I try to go to those types of conventions.
Yes.
I wouldn't do well at the sci-fi convention, so I generally don't hit them.
So know your audience.
Yes.
What's the best and worst parts of selling at a convention?
Well, it's 8 to 10 hours a day of rejection. You know, most people are trying to be polite and say, okay, I'll think about it or whatever, and come back later. 90% of them never do. But then every so often you get one person who comes back and says, oh God, I loved your book. You had another one. That makes it all worthwhile.
How do you prepare for cons?
I get a lot of sleep beforehand. Make sure everything is packed a day or two before, because you always forget something. And I try to keep an emergency kit with tape, scissors, pens, things like that, ready to go.
Okay. And what's your favorite memory from a con?
The little kid that came up and told me that he read my book and he loved it and he wrote a book report on it and got an A.
Oh.
That absolutely made my day.
Oh, I bet. I'm waiting for that day too. All right, thanks a lot, Ed.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. What's your name?
My name is Isaac Crow. I'm the author of Outcast of the Room, a young adult fantasy about humans and cat food.
All right, and this is your first ever con, right?
First ever con, yes, for being an author.
Okay. So, what brought you here to Gen Con?
I had attended Gen Con for probably 5 or 6 years. Always spent time in the author's alley, and it's close to home, so I thought, wow, great way to start, where I'm familiar with it, and it's a con I really enjoy, so I thought he would go here.
Okay. How's your experience been so far?
So far, really good. All the authors have been very nice, lending helpful tips to a new person. I've learned a lot of things I need to do in the future, but things have gone well for me, and I'm looking forward to hopefully again next year.
Would you do anything differently next year or at the next con you go to?
More decorations. This is my first book, so I don't have several books to display. So I looked at providing a better presentation, more things on the table, more backdrops, little trinkets to bring more focus to me in the book.
Okay. And, what was the most challenging thing you faced this year at the con?
Just trying to work into scheduling, I think, more than anything. It's a crazy 4 or 5 days getting set up, trying to work school in with the daughter and trying to get here out of work. So that's probably the biggest thing, no sleep.
What's been your favorite part of being at the con?
Just getting to sit down and talk to all the people. When you go to a con, they're usually focused on finding games, playing games, looking at merchandise. This time I got to sit down, actually talk to people who are at the con, see why they're here, what their interests are, so that's been a lot of fun.
Okay, thanks a lot, Isaac. All right. First, tell me your names and your titles.
I'm Eric Mickey. I'm the creator and writer of Snow by Night.
Mon nom est Eloïsa Chambon et je suis la traductrice de Snow by Night.
All right, my first question to you is, what brought you to Gen Con? Or to just selling cons in general?
Oh, Gen Con specifically?
Yeah, Gen Con specifically.
They lowered their standards, and they let me sit a bit on Oculus Avenue. Specifically, though, I thought it was a good match for our content that we had, which is colonial fantasy. So it's less alchemy, and it's a great crowd for it.
Alors la question était pourquoi est-ce qu'on est venu à Gen Con? C'est parce que c'est une très belle opportunité pour nous de absolument parler à propos du comic qui est sur Internet. Et puis ça nous permet d'avoir une foule qui est beaucoup plus grande extérieure.
Well, what's interesting about you is that you've been to a lot of other conventions. This is your first time at Gen Con. So what's different about Gen Con compared to those other conventions?
The professionalism of the Authors Avenue and the Artist Alley, it's much more structured, much more developed than a lot of the other conventions we went to, which is anime for the most part. Also, the crowd is enormous, and it skews slightly over and a little more male than anime cons. So you have to realize who yourself to.
La question était pourquoi est-ce qu'on vient à Gen Con alors qu'on se promène beaucoup dans d'autres sortes de conventions? Alors la réponse est simplement pour avoir une grande diversité de personnes. Parce que si on n'a pas juste des gens qui sont intéressés par les comics, mais aussi par ce qui est roleplay.
How's your experience been so far?
Overwhelming. It's a lot of people. I've been coming to Gen Con since early 2000, and it's double in size. I've never exhibited before. I was a judge for the Coast, and it's a completely different experience being on the inside of the hall, where it's just people constantly for 8 hours with really no breaks unless I have Elise here to help me out on the table.
Alors la question était comment était notre expérience? On a été vraiment surpris à la quantité de personnes qu'il y a parce que depuis qu'on vient ici, la foule ne fait que grandir. Et puis c'est toujours agréable à cause qu'il y a beaucoup de gens et on est capable de parler du produit à beaucoup de gens.
What would you do differently next year if you come back to Gen Con?
Bring more books.
Yes, definitely.
We are in Authors Avenue. This is very much a book aisle. Fortunately, we will have more books next year. We only have the first 4 chapters now. We will have the second 4 in print when we come back next year. I think it will help us a whole lot.
La question était qu'est-ce qu'on ferait différemment l'année prochaine? Et la réponse est emmener plus de livres parce qu'on a besoin d'avoir beaucoup de livres. Et puis personnellement, je m'arrangerais pour que mon costume puisse absolument stuffer cachot. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What was the most challenging thing that you have faced at the con this year?
There's a lot of people here, and fortunately they brought the food trucks in, so I tried to balance making sure that you get the right amount of nutrition so that you're not falling asleep at the table. If you survive off of snack food at this table, you will face plant on the first day. So you need to make sure you have the right amount of nutrition, and that can be challenging in a downtown area that has 50,000 people pouring into it.
Alors la question était qu'est-ce qu'on a trouvé le plus difficile? Et la réponse c'est avoir accès à la nourriture parce qu'avec 50 000 personnes qui est dans un bloc, c'est vraiment difficile d'avoir accès.
All right, and finally, what's been your favorite part of the con this year?
Favorite part? Meeting all the people, meeting so many new people. People that wouldn't come over to see us in the D&D because that's not really their thing, but they certainly are all about the exhibit hall. So you meet a wide variety of people from young, old, male, female, hardcore geeks to casual nerds. It's just a fantastic gathering.
Alors la question c'est qu'est-ce qu'on a préféré? C'est rencontrer les gens, surtout voir les fans face à face, c'est toujours agréable parce qu'on sait qu'ils existent, on sait qu'ils sont là, mais sur Internet on peut pas les rencontrer. Puis
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for sharing your wisdom and experience with me and all the rest of my fans. Now, before I wrap up, I do want to let everyone know that if you've been paying attention to my website and you saw the tentative schedule I had for upcoming videos, you'll notice that I have had to cancel or delay some of the ideas I had for videos, and my apologies for that. But I've been trying to keep up with my writing projects, and these videos are secondary to my writing. And I've also been having computer problems, which has not helped with the production of either my writing or these videos. So, my apologies for having to skip some of those videos, but I will do my best to try to stick to my schedule in the coming months because I have a lot of great ideas that I want to share with you via these videos. So, in light of all of that, here's to another awesome year! Thank you for joining me on But I Digress. This is Nate Marchand, signing off.